This is episode 25 of the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast with Jamie Cole of FitConnect.
There's this whole space that I think, when it comes to how can you increase the revenues of your gym, there's this whole space here that is crying out for someone to lead it. And I think that gyms could be the right people to lead it when it comes to health. And if we could get the right services in place, you could actually create something super powerful here. I know there's a number of referral programs for doctors to be able to send people to gyms. But if we actually had something that was data-led, we could actually then start to really address some of the major health problems that we have in this world.
Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. I am your host, Josh Trent, and this is your number one trusted resource for the accelerating world of fitness technology. Each week, we bring you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You'll gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse of what matters most for your fitness business in the age of exponential technologies. This podcast is brought to you by support from our outstanding sponsors. Brian O'Rourke and his family of companies, including Videri Ventures, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and many more. If you're looking for unmatched guidance, capital, insights, or a great speaker or facilitator, Brian and his partners are the go-to resource for your organization. To learn more, visit brianko'rourke.com. We'd also like to thank the Fitness Industry Technology Council, your nonprofit resource for reliable technology information, supported by forward-looking brands who are seeking to drive increased technology adoption in the fitness industry. Make a difference and join at fittechcouncil.org today. What can location and activity tracking do to improve the lives of millions of health club members and deliver to the bottom line of fitness facilities in our industry? Today on the podcast, we're diving deep into this topic and how new technology can truly meet the increasing demands of our members at their deepest needs. When we look at location and member activity, a deeper question arises. Just exactly what technology can deliver value to the club and the member without being too cumbersome or expensive? That question is answered today and so much more by our guest, Jamie Cole of FitConnect. For episode 25, we're learning from Jamie about how we can provide more value for the member without asking them to make any extra steps outside of what they're already doing while inside the club. If you've been looking for more clarity around what it looks like to use outside club data from fitness apps, combined with in-club location tracking of the member's activity to help deliver contextualized and personal health recommendations, you're going to enjoy this episode as we talk about the real answers to these questions and how new technologies can give you a better decision-making capability for your fitness business. You're going to want to hear this episode twice. You can also head to our show notes at fittechcouncil.org for all the links mentioned from Jamie on today's show. Let's dive in right here, right now with Jamie Cole. Jamie Cole is the founder of FitConnect, a digital solution helping gyms to collate and turn data into insights that can excel their business. Since launching in June last year, FitConnect has helped 72 gyms and have sealed a partnership with Life Fitness UK to help their customers. FitConnect connects members' health data in the gym through one platform. A gym can access fitness data for their members and all the top apps and devices. Jamie recently joined the Fitness Industry Technology Council to connect with operators in our space who are digital ready. He loves sharing his experience from other industries on how to solve problems with digital and making the lives of exercisers better. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Today, what I'm most excited about, Jamie, we're talking about meeting the member at their deepest needs and how technology can do that. I want to dive right in because I know that a lot of club operators are listening. What is FitConnect? Can you tell us a little bit about FitConnect and what you're solving for our space?
Yeah, sure. So to put it simply, FitConnect allows gyms to aggregate their client data. Now, through one platform, what we try to do is enable gyms to access all of that data in a way that they can use it to make sure that they can create good insights that will help them to support them better. There's so much said about data. There's so much confusion. There's so many complex systems that are involved in running a gym that essentially what we're looking to do is create that layer that takes all of the relevant information, interprets it, and actually turns it into insights that can help the gym to do the jobs that they need to do.
And really, this is an automatic process because as we'll touch on a lot during the show today, one of the things you said to me in our earlier calls, it really sparked my attention. And you asked this deeper question of technology and member service. How do we create an experience that requires the member to do nothing, yet adds more value to what they already have? I want to learn a little bit more about your origin story. Can you tell us how you came to be FitConnect?
Yeah, so I think our background is actually within health. We did a lot around working in social care, so actually creating technology products that would help the elderly. And interestingly, in that space, we created a medication reminder service. And this service still runs to this day. And the funny thing about this product is that there were so many apps coming out on the market. There were so many devices that you could buy to help your elderly mum or gran to remember to take her medication. We did probably the simplest thing ever, yet it had the best penetration out of all of these products. And that was to simply ring them on a landline telephone with a pre-recorded but friendly message to say, hey, Gran, remember it's time to take your medication. And funnily enough, that actually had more traction than anything out in the market, because what people forgot is that with generations, older generations don't know how to use apps as well as we do. So as a result of that, we actually had great penetration with that product. And it was working on stuff like that I guess helped us have a real focus on how to create something that really creates a seamless user experience, that creates something that actually gets rid of all friction. And then, working with the team, we kind of naturally progressed into fitness. And it was actually one night, someone from the head of Life Fitness UK sent through an email and just said, he needed a hand with a Prezi, getting it prepared for a big meeting the next day. And we thought, well, do you know what? We'll do this because this is a big guy in the industry, and it would be really good to get close to him. So we actually spent a couple of hours fancying up the Prezi, even though it wasn't, really something that do, but it was a great chance for us to show that we can be agile and quick, something, that obviously big corporations can't get that sort of stuff done in a matter of hours. So it was a great time for us to kind of show ourselves off, but also to create a relationship with someone who could help us understand the industry a little better. And since then, we've been able to work with Life Fitness on a number of solutions for their customers. But then it was about kind of a year into that relationship that we thought, hang on a sec, we've got something here, because, we see that there's a number of people trying to create their own apps, or they're purchasing third-party apps. And although these might have some uptake, we noticed that 52% of gym members were already using fitness apps and devices. So we thought, why are we trying to force people to download our new app? Which, it did create some value, but a lot of them out there just provide kind of information and maybe booking classes and things. But that didn't create enough value for it to be something that's used every day. Yet all these people were using apps, they're the highest retaining category on the App Store. So we wanted to create a way that we could actually plug all of those into the gym experience and actually turn them into, rather being a competitor, but actually be an aid for those gyms.
Jamie, we're talking about meeting the member at their deepest needs. And again, how an experience can add something to the member without having there be a lot of cost. When you look across the landscape, what do you think members' deepest needs are? What are the members looking for in regards to technology?
Well, first and foremost, what the members are looking to do when they join the gym is get fit. And I think that sometimes it can be forgotten that the average gym member doesn't necessarily need or understand or want. We might perceive that every gym member wants to be that kind of fitness freak that's going to wear a heart rate strap, and they're going to go to those insanity classes, that they're going to be able to do the squats and the deadlifts and everything. But that's not your typical member. What we noticed is that actually there's a lot that will essentially take a much more gradual progress towards getting fit. And as a result of that, you see why things like Fitbit wearables and stuff are doing so well. You talk to kind of peak athletes, they might not really care about how many steps they do or, what their resting heart rate is, because that information might not actually be necessary. But to an individual that is on the road or on a journey to getting to a good level of fitness, those sort of statistics are great measurements of their progress. And as a result of that, that's why you see Fitbit working so well. So I guess what a member wants is they want to achieve their fitness goal. They obviously want to do it as easily as possible. Small goals, but more frequent goals is probably the way that we see in FitConnect. In fact, what we've actually started to do is discourage people from putting too high of a weight loss goal, for example, in the system, because in actual fact, the people that do succeed are the ones that do small but frequent goals. So, yeah, in terms of what members want, I guess it's simplicity and the right support to get them to where they want to be. And that's where I feel the information that gyms hold about members currently doesn't fit the need, because all it tells you is, you can get some information about when people turned up into the gym. People do analyze this information, and it can help you understand, certain trends with members, and you can see when they haven't turned up for 2 weeks, and then you can kind of get on the phone and say, why haven't you come? Is there anything we can do? But it's that real granular information that, when analyzed, can really help you understand how people are progressing.
This is so great, Jamie, because if we're going to meet a member at their deeper needs, we need some deeper levels of data. And I think what you guys are doing with Cisco and geotagging, more importantly, if someone's connected in Wi-Fi to the gym, the Meraki system that you use in combination with FitConnect, this is 100% member location. This tracks behavior patterns, movement while inside the club. I think this is the deeper levels that most club owners can really value from. Can you tell us about your relationship with Meraki and what Meraki is?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, what FitConnect can provide is the connection to the fitness apps and wearables. We've got over 90 now, and people can connect up those. So we see a lot of people that connect up their Strava, Map My Run, MyFitnessPal, etc. That's given you a real insight into what those people are doing in terms of outdoor exercise, sleep, nutrition, steps, etc. What our relationship with Meraki has enabled us to do is essentially start and then look at location information within the gym. So as a member, I might join the gym, and when I first walk in, I might connect up to the Wi-Fi. But rather than just kind of your traditional Wi-Fi login, what we actually do is we say, okay, connect to the Wi-Fi, but let us know what your fitness goal is, and we can actually send you some well-timed, personalized advice on how you can improve. People connect up to the Wi-Fi like they usually would, but what then happens is we're able to use access points on the wall to understand where members go within the gym. And as a result of that, be able to understand, okay, they actually spent 20 minutes in the free weight section. They spent 10 minutes on the treadmill. They spent 20 minutes in the cafe. And although that might not be very detailed data, it's still data. And the members had to do nothing to provide that information. Mm-hmm. Yet that's enough for us to start supporting that member to actually help them to get to where they want to be. And what we're able to do from that is then gradually build up the picture by recommending certain apps that might help them with the spaces that they're using in the gym. So if we see them walking on the treadmills, for example, we're able to say, did you know you could use this particular app to log your runs? Or if they're in the free weight section, we can say, did you know you could use these apps to track your workouts? And then that slowly but gradually be able to build up that picture through data. At the same time, creating a better experience for the member, but then start to actually be able to go deeper and deeper into that data and understand what it is that they're doing in each of those sections, as well as what they're doing outside the gym.
So a little more clarity on Meraki too. This is something where there's sensors placed on the walls, or does it run through the current system they already have? So how does that work on a deeper level? The members moving throughout their journey in the club, and it'll actually track within a few feet what the member's doing, where they are?
Yeah, so what it actually does is most gyms would have already invested in this infrastructure anyway, in IT infrastructure. All you're doing is essentially upgrading your switch, and your access points and your Wi-Fi router to something that's cloud managed and also has beacon technology inside. So it can actually start to, what they do is they triangulate. And as a result of that, they almost build like a digital view of your gym. And then when you combine that with the floor plan, you're able to understand, okay, well, that person was in this particular area. So it's not a heavy investment, and a lot of people invest in this stuff anyway. It's just this latest and smartest stuff on the market at the moment. So, it's a great example of how we're not trying to provide the technology and the apps. What we're trying to do is make sure that whatever decision gyms make in terms of how they build the technology in their gyms, we're able to collect the data from all of these data points and then turn it into insights that will actually be helpful.
Jamie, the importance of this for location trends, I think we've talked in previous conversations that heat maps, cities use heat maps based on mobile data and this kind of near field technology to get geo-targets on where people are working out in parks. This is something that gyms can combine in-club data with out-club data. But what does this mean to the club owner's bottom line when we look at the importance of member location?
So, for example, we provide heat maps off the data for gyms that show exactly where people are running and cycling outside the gym, and give them a little bit of information in terms of demographics and trends. So, one, for example, that we saw yesterday is it was great weather in England. It was Monday bank holiday. So, funnily enough, cycling and bike rides went absolutely through the roof. So it's just one trend, when there's good weather and it's a bank holiday, it seems to always be the case. But what we're able to do is show a gym where those individuals are exercising outside the gym. So as an operator, you can then start to think, okay, if I've got 50 of my members that are all using this park that's a couple of miles from my gym, what could I start to do in and around these spaces to provide services that will not only support my existing members in their fitness journey, but potentially almost be outposts to potential members as well. So if it was me, I'd be running classes for free in that park that will serve my existing members because I know they already like to train there, but also be a great way to engage other members and as a result, create a great new sales channel. But also retain your existing members because actually you're showing that you're actually part of their entire fitness journey, not just that small piece of the fitness journey that they carry out inside your gym.
And I think the really individual need of the member is based on where they are in the club. If you have someone that only does cardio, it might be the greatest time to serve them an ad about how they could either work with a trainer or how they could use strength equipment. When we look at the honest piece of the member journey, though, Jamie, how do you work with clubs to integrate technology that establishes more of a solid and robust member experience, either when they're first joining the club or throughout their whole life cycle?
When a gym member joins a gym that has FitConnect, what they'll do as part of this is they'll go through an onboarding process, and that can sit in various places, whether that's just on a kind of typical web page that's branded as the gym, or whether it's part of the app that they already have, or whether it's part of the kind of Wi-Fi login. But as that part, they're able to look for the apps that will help them achieve the things that they want to do. So if they're a keen runner, we recommend particular apps that will help them with the running. If they're going to be doing the free weights, we recommend the apps that are going to help them with the free weights. And therefore, you make sure that you've got the right channels to collect the right information about that individual so that you can then support them. So when they go and say, actually, yeah, I want to, for example, increase my strength, you're able to make sure that you can get the relevant information to see how their strength is improving, because you're able to see the sets of squats that they're doing, for example, and you can see the weight going up and up and up, right the way down to kind of people who just want to improve their steps. We did a pilot with Curves, and what they wanted to do is actually double the steps of all their members. Very simple, one metric that we had to measure. They actually narrowed it down to basically about 3 or 4 apps that they wanted to use. And they really focused on making sure that they could help the member to double their steps. Now, that's something that's beyond the gym. Curves is about a circuit. They want to get them there 3 times a week. They want to keep them coming frequently. Yet they just demonstrate to their members that actually they understood that their members actually want to improve all aspects of their health. And as a result, they were measuring their steps. So, what we do is we make sure that the right channels of data are coming in depending on who that member is and what they're looking to achieve.
And it surprises me still the popularity of Curves, but we know that obviously they're looking at technology integrations as well. Now, this meaningful data part, we're swimming in data, Jamie. I think club owners have more data now than pretty much ever before. What would you say are the handfuls of data points about our customers that matter the very most to a club owner and operator?
I think sometimes it's easy to focus on the systems and the features of the systems, but when it comes down to it, there's a number of, and I love the phrase, you hear it a lot over the last year, but jobs to be done. And there's a number of jobs that a gym has to do. One being get more sales, two being retain more members, three being create secondary sales channels. Those are the three that we hear quite a lot. And when you focus on those first, then you can understand how you can use the software that you currently have or the software you need to get to make sure those things happen. What we always do when we're going in is we say, okay, what is it that you're looking to achieve? And therefore, here are the pieces of FitConnect that will help you to achieve exactly that. Most of the time when it comes to retaining members, what it comes down to is better understanding of their members. And in order to get better understanding, they need to know exactly what they're up to and how well they're doing it so they know where to support them best. And that is where apps and devices provide some of the best data for that.
And you're looking across the board, is it essentially like, for example, Curves or a club that maybe has people that want a little more personal attention? Would it be their exercise data or would it be their attendance data or a combination of both that I think would be really important to a club owner?
A combination of both because, as I mentioned, you can take the information about when people turn up in the gym, but it's really understanding how well they exercise that day or how they're progressing towards their goal that really helps you understand how well they're doing. Because, you might have someone who turns up 6 days a week and then goes sits on the sofa for most of the visit. And we might think that member is one of the best members in the club. They might actually be sat there thinking, God, I wish I had the motivation I could get here, but I just can't keep going, and as a result of that, it's a combination of the two. And that's where what we see is when FitConnect and Meraki is put together in a gym, what we're able to do is not only see that they were using the free weights, but when they go and log it on their fitness, on their Fitbit app, for example, we're able to combine the two pieces of the data, combine with the heart rate data that we get from Fitbit as well, and say, look, here's one log that shows what actually happened in the gym when your member walked in. And then that gives you a real clear understanding of how good that training session was. And when you combine that with the past 10, you can then start to really see trends and as a result, see whether they're actually progressing.
Which can affect re-sign levels as well, right? I mean, depending on how the client's data is looking when they're working with the fitness professional.
Exactly. And what we see is, there's a number of reasons why people cancel their membership. But the reality is that if they actually achieved what they came to do, then they would be far less likely to leave. And that's where we say, okay, let's really focus in on what that member's trying to achieve when they turn up here and make sure that even if they do fall off and go off track, we know about that the moment it happens so that we can actually step in and do something about it because, then that would stop some of the other reasons that we see for cancelling memberships, such as, tiredness is really common one. It's too expensive, which actually means value for money because, you see London, the average spend in London on fitness is going through the roof. I think it's over £100 a month now. It just demonstrates to you that, when the experiences, and funny enough, in London, there's a lot of really good boutique studios that are creating these unbelievable experiences. And it just shows that when there's true value for money, which usually means the person feels good and they're achieving the things they want to achieve, then actually you'll retain that member for longer.
Jamie, I'm so glad you're bringing up the start of the member experience. This is something we've talked about a lot in the past few episodes on the podcast, this new member experience. And my curiosity is this first 30 days, this is when members really get emotionally engaged in a club. How do you use machine learning, and what is machine learning for the audience that might not know, to blend either an automated message to a new member or to personalize it deeper based on their data?
So you see a lot of gyms, they'll do kind of 30-day startup plans that will, and you see them building these strategies that say, okay, on week 1, we're going to do this. On week 2, we're going to do that. Week 3, we're going to do this. And the amount of gyms I've gone to and we've kind of sat down and said, okay, how many people actually get to your 3rd meeting? The numbers are like 2% by then, because actually what they've done is they've created a program that A, is very intensive in terms of resource for the staff, but B, can sometimes be quite one-dimensional. And although, we would love for every member to do all of that, because we know that if they did, they would probably be a great member, the reality is that it can be off-putting for that member. And as a result, you see that the numbers, the people just don't get through those programs. So that's where we kind of really like to step back and say, okay, what is it that they're looking to achieve? And then once we know what they're looking to achieve, that's when our system kicks into play, because we're able to say, okay, you want to lose 2 kilos of weight. And as they log those exercises, the system can actually generate messaging that will congratulate them on their progress. They keep it up. Well done. You've done 3 workouts this week. Let's do that again next week. Prompt them to log their weight this week and make sure they keep on track of it. And as and when they lose weight, we're able to then say, fantastic, well done for losing 1 kilo, you've got 1 more kilo to go, and use this messaging to actually support that member, but on the personal goal that they have. So it's nothing to do with what the gym wants them to be. It's actually what they want to be, and making sure that the messaging is supportive of them along that journey, but then also making the gym aware of that progress. And the next time they walk in the gym, putting a message in the hand of the staff to say, Jamie's just walked in, he lost 1 kilo this week, congratulate him. And then you've got a hyper-personal experience for that member that's nothing to do with any kind of 30-day strategy that you could put in place. This is super personal to that individual. And that's an example of how data can then become really useful in making sure that the service that you're delivering is actually something that the member wants.
And I think in the past 12 months, what I'm seeing is a lot of clubs are interested in 360 degrees of what the member's actually doing, not only in the club, but outside the 4 walls as well. And so when we look at the advantage of a tech-focused health club who wants to combine the data sets of what the member's doing inside the club and outside the club, what do you think is the top 2 or 3 advantages of having that as the forefront of their offerings?
I think it's essential, if I'm honest, because you look at other industries and this stuff is already being done. So if I'm honest, it's more a case of people need to catch up, because if they're not, they're going to be rapidly beaten by their competitors. You only need to look at Amazon, for example. And I know that was like a 12, 15-year strategy, but now they're in a position where they've got so much data and they're gaining so much insight from it. They can actually go into other markets. So I don't know if listeners know much about Amazon, but essentially they've gone from being able to deliver 2-day delivery back in 2005 right the way to, in some places, 2-hour delivery. And that's taken them, 12 years to get there. But what they set off in 2005 was a very clever system that would essentially start to understand how their customers purchase things, what they're looking to purchase. And they've built such hyper accurate personas about those individuals that now they're able to know exactly what it is that you're likely to buy, and then they go and stick it in the warehouse nearest to you, so that when you do go on the Amazon website and buy it, it's only 2 hours away from you. And that's where I feel that's the real danger, I think, for this industry in particular, is a lot of this stuff is already being done in other industries, and we need to make sure that we are putting the right platforms in place to gain the insights that will help them with this stuff. I was only speaking to someone who owns a franchise of a well-known gym chain at FIBO, and they were saying, that they also had a franchise of Domino's Pizza, And in Domino's, technology and using digital is like the heart of their business.
Yeah, we've talked about this, I believe, on an episode before. Domino's, they absolutely do an incredible job using predictive analytics.
Exactly. And for him, it's easy to run his franchise because essentially it just tells him, where the spikes in sales are going to be, and therefore how many doughs to create, how many staff to have on. All of this stuff has already been done in other industries, but it's something that's just not happening in the gym industry at the moment. So I think the real kind of scare here is that, the people that do this will really excel very, very quickly, and it might leave a couple of people behind. So I think it's important to kind of step back and say, okay, actually, what data sets have we got? What is the meaning of those data sets? And, what are the jobs that we need to do? And how can we use that data to actually help us do those jobs more effectively?
Jamie, thanks so much for the wake-up call, because I think this is something that you're right. Amazon's doing it. Domino's are doing it. When is the fitness industry going to catch up? And I think if you're here listening to this podcast, you are part of the solution that we need for our space. And I want to thank you for that so much, because I think people are a little bit apprehensive to too much tracking. But what you're talking about is doing some deeper tracking to meet the member actually at their deepest needs. So thank you so much for saying that, Jamie.
Yeah, sure. And I think with the tracking aspect as well, I might as well mention it. I think a lot of the time, people sometimes get worried about, how much data we're collecting about our members. Are they going to get scared by all this? It's all about value transaction. Google collect a lot of information about you, but you get something very good in return. You type in a search box and you get the answer you want. As a result of that, they actually collect a lot of information about what you search for and then build a really good and powerful profile about you. And that's what it's about. It's about value transaction, and then obviously, being good with data, making sure you've got all the necessary security in place and doing honest things. But members are, of course, going to be happy to share that information if it means they're going to get a better experience.
We are definitely going to have you back on the show at some point this year to talk about these granular sets of data and how tracking members' behavior from other spaces, other activities that they're doing can be combined in the fitness industry. For example, what they're purchasing on Amazon can be combined with a data set of how they work out and what they do in the fitness industry, correct?
Yeah, I mean, one example of where we've pulled two interesting data sets together, and I think this is kind of a bigger ambition of FitConnect, is in the UK, we've actually been looking and started integrating with patient records. So what we can then do is start to understand what impact does exercise, sleep, nutrition, and steps and heart rate have when combined with particular drugs. So if you've got someone who's being diagnosed with depression, and we've got a particular antidepressant that's being given to that individual, if we can access the information from a Fitbit app that tells us what exercise they're doing, how much sleep they're getting, what they're eating, etc., when you combine those two pools of data together, you actually create unbelievably valuable data for pharmaceutical companies, because essentially what they're doing at the moment is they're doing these clinical trials and saying, okay, let's give it to 1,000 people, see if it works. Okay, great, the drug worked on 900 people out of 1,000. That's good to go. But what we're able to do is actually say, okay, not only does that drug work, but when combined with 150 minutes of exercise, it actually doubles the impact of that drug, for example. And I think there's this whole space that I think, when it comes to how can you increase the revenues of your gym, there's this whole space here that is crying out for someone to lead it. And I think that gyms could be the right people to lead it when it comes to health. And if we could get the right services in place, you could actually create something super powerful here. I know there's a number of kind of like referral programs for doctors to be able to send people to gyms. But if we actually had something that was data-led, we could actually then start to really address some of the major health problems that we have in this world. And the gyms could be the provider of that.
This is going to be used to back up the Fit America, the Fit Act. If we have this granular data about how people are showing up medically, physically, pharmaceutically, all these different things,
exactly.
That's the kind of actionable data that Congress can use to elicit massive plans for the entire nation. Jamie, I want to stop talking with you here because we could probably talk for another 45 minutes, no doubt. But this is the last round of the show. This is the Fit 6 round. It's where club operators and owners get to know a little bit more about you. So it's 6 questions for 6 answers. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Being in the industry can be challenging at times, especially for new entrepreneurs. Can you share one of the most difficult moments in your career so far to co-found?
Probably the gap between, because, we're sat in data and insights all the time. It's sometimes hard for even ourselves to just remember that actually, there's still a learning curve with all of this stuff. So a lot of the time we get so excited about the stuff that we do that actually we've got to go, whoa, hang on a sec. We need to first explain what the hell Meraki actually provides, for example. I think one of the biggest challenges for us so far has been actually remembering that actually a lot of this stuff is quite complicated. And for a 26-year-old that is used to all of this stuff, it's quite easy. So being more open and explaining a lot of this stuff has probably been something that we've definitely changed over the last 6 months.
Technology breeds change, it yields change. When we look at change management, what is one of the best pieces of advice or ways of being that you've either received or put into place when it comes to adapting to change and dealing with change management?
Oh, good question. Where we excel is being able to kind of take an agile approach, and I think that's probably one of the best things that a lot of people could do is actually let the data lead the way that they take their business forward. Stop making assumptions about what they think their members want, but actually make sure they're collecting data and analyzing it to create those new experiences and know what it is that their customers want.
What surprised you the most in the past 2 years looking at fitness and technology? Has there anything that's come up that's really surprised you?
The amount of opportunity. I think, when I heard how many people go to the gym in places like the Middle East and China and India, it just made me think, wow, there is so much opportunity still. We haven't even touched the surface yet. And I think that some of the innovation might excel from some of these places where they've got a lot of catch up to do. And it will be really interesting to see what actually surfaces over the next 5 years.
What do you believe about early adopters in the fitness technology landscape versus late adopters? In other words, what do you look for personally to become an early adopter from a mindset perspective when you look at fitness tech?
So when we're looking for early adopters, I guess we're looking for people that they understand that just because what they currently do works doesn't mean that they can just jump into this and it will be okay. Creating a digital experience for a member, sometimes needs a whole new look at things. It needs a whole new team. It needs a whole new rethink. So I think we really look for those individuals that understand that just because they're successful now at the journey that they create for their members currently, doesn't mean that they're going to be experts in this immediately. So kind of taking a fresh approach and understanding that there's a lot to learn are the sort of people that we try and look for.
What are your thoughts around the balance of tech and people? There's some top ways that I think all of us can use tech and human touch together, but for your ethos and what you do with FitConnect, what are your thoughts around balancing the needs of people with technology?
The people have to come first in fitness because this isn't about automating. This is about making sure that we're providing an efficient and personal experience. We've had a number of customers that might have, or a number of potential customers that have said, we haven't got many staff, so we're looking to automate things. And although it does work, this truly needs to keep the staff in this because they are the people that create the connections with the members and keep them for there longer. We just want to make sure the staff have the insights to be able to do that.
What does the intersection of fitness and technology mean to you? What are the possibilities that you see for business and also to impact the obesity epidemic we have across the world? What do you see coming to fruition at this intersection of fitness and tech?
I think it could create the answers to some of the biggest health challenges that we have. For example, I think a number of people will accept that, diabetic remission is a thing, that you can cure diabetes. We just don't have the data to suggest how. And I think that technology is certainly going to answer that question. There's a bit of research that will say, exercise helps with these conditions, etc. But once we've got enough data, we can generally prove not only does exercise and particular nutrition and sleep help with things like diabetes, but this is the way, when you've got the right genetics as well, to be able to actually cure yourself of diabetes. And I think that's where fitness and technology can really combine and create something amazing.
You can learn more about Jamie at FitConnect.io. Jamie, we talked so much today about meeting the member at their deepest needs. If I'm an operator, an owner, or even just a technology proactive fitness professional, what should I be considering over the next 12 months when I look at this blending of in-club data and out-club data?
I think it's important to consider, what do your members want? Because at the end of the day, they want to achieve that goal. And is the member journey that you're creating for them right now is it truly helping them to achieve that? And the attrition rates will tell you everything, because I know it's possible to get down to 2% a month. I've seen it happen. So it's about making sure you know what your members want, and therefore being able to create a digital strategy that will aid your staff and your members to get the most out of that relationship.
Jamie Cole, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for your time.
Support for this podcast is brought to you by our outstanding sponsor, Aftershocks, who has created cutting-edge headphones using bone conduction sound technology perfect for cyclists, fitness professionals, and fitness enthusiasts alike. With an open-ear design focused on safety and comfort, Aftershocks is offering an exclusive bundle with a free gift for the Fitness Plus Technology audience. Pick up your free gift with purchase by heading over to fitc.aftershocks.com today. How can we provide more value for the gym member without asking them to make any extra steps outside of what they're already doing while inside the health club? One of the biggest answers to this powerful question is by combining fitness app data sets with in-club location data while the member is already inside the four walls. Using iBeacon and strategic location tech, clubs now have the ability to send members truly personalized and contextualized advice on how they can improve while supporting them towards their wellness goals via a mobile device. When we're looking at meeting the members' deeper needs, which are changing faster than ever, savvy operators, owners, and trainers must take the honest inventory of if they've actually considered what their members really want. At the end of the day, the ultimate question is the member journey you're creating right now truly going to help them achieve their goals? Jamie believes that success for gyms is found through creating a digital strategy that will aid staff and members to get the most out of their relationship. With location and activity data-led health programs, we can now begin to really address some of the major health issues in our world. There is an emerging space when it comes to increasing revenues in the gym that is crying out for someone to lead it. With new technologies, gyms are now positioned to be just the right thing to lead that charge when it comes to improving global health by working with key referral programs from doctors. Thank you for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Here's a quick message from Brian O'Rourke.
Hey, Josh, thanks so much for doing this great podcast. Friends, if you're enjoying this podcast, you're really going to enjoy following at Fit Tech Council. Follow me at Brian K. O'Rourke. And you'd really, really do us a big favor if you could go on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this and give us a 5-star. If you're enjoying it, please give us a 5-star and please share this podcast. Help spread the word about technology and the great opportunities it is creating for our industry space. Thanks so much for listening.